Obi-Wan Kenobi series has had its fair share of criticisms, so much so that fans have actually taken it upon themselves to make movie edits. One of the most popular ones, the Patterson cut, pretty much boils down the entire 6-episode series into a 2.5 hour film. But these are just edits and artistic interpretations. One fan by the name of PixelJoker 95 actually went a step further and created new VFX shots, reshoots, relighting and so much more in a movie version of Kenobi. The footage you're watching right now is a comparison between the original Kenobi series and what this fan editor has done in post-production. Nobody is creating and editing content like this content creator, and it's a massive shame that not many people are focusing on it, compared to your other edits that released pretty close to when Kenobi came out in May last year. This wasn't all just done in After Effects, Blender, Maya and whatever applications this editor used either. He brought in makeup artists, actors and a whole entire green screen set so he could reshoot and add new scenes into his film adaptation. But even just looking at these effects, how on earth are these studio quality and made by just one guy? Well, the answer to that is he's actually a VFX editor for Andor. Going through his Reddit posts, he talks about working at a big VFX studio and then eventually admitting that he did work on Andor Season 1. And we all know the VFX crew on that TV series was phenomenal. Andor was one of the best looking Star Wars Disney shows that has come out for quite a while. So to see that expertise be put into the Kenobi series is just phenomenal. Take a look at this comparison of the Fortress Inquisitorius. PixelJoker 95 actually made a video dedicated to how he managed to put it all together, and it's absolutely obvious he's taken inspiration from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order's version of the building. We got a whole new backdrop and 3D model in this shot alone, not to mention some recoloring here and there as well. Other big edits are the Inquisitors, the Grand Inquisitor being the biggest change and the fifth brother being a somewhat more minor change. Both of these characters are redesigned in all of the shots of this movie to look more like their Star Wars Rebels counterparts. One of the biggest criticisms was that the live action Grand Inquisitor didn't look much like his cartoon iteration. And whilst it's not identical to that cartoon version, it definitely looks a lot more closer to it. One of my favourite edits, however, is the final fight between Kenobi and Darth Vader. Whilst the fight itself was amazing, the planet didn't give too much of environment for a backdrop. Remember, the battle between Anakin and Kenobi in episode 3 was phenomenal because of the backdrop that was Mustafar. So the editor has gone out of his way to give it more of a Mustafar vibe, only this time more blue than red. I think one of my favourite themes in VFX that's being made for this movie edit is the holograms. I think they're really well done and adds a lot to scenes that kinda looked a little boring. I think one of the perfect examples is Vader's castle on Mustafar. It kind of gives this 90s vibe in the sense that everything's low poly, there isn't much fidelity, and it's all kind of just covered in black marble, which was really common for 90s renders. But in this change, we see that Vader's looking at a holograph of the entire galaxy map. Now, I'm not sure what all the red dots are around this galaxy map, but I'm assuming these are verified Jedi deaths. And it makes sense for Vader to be looking at this map because he's searching for Kenobi. And in this other shot where Kenobi's looking through his binoculars at Luke, and then when he turns around, he sees a shot of Anakin Skywalker as a kid, and I'm not sure what he's trying to do here. I'm assuming that Kenobi's hallucinating and thinking about his past and the mistakes he's made, so on and so forth. If that's the case, I think that's really interesting to kind of make it look like Kenobi isn't as sane as he was in the original show. And if anything, that's a bit more in line with Legends instead of the canon version of it as well. And I think that's the case as well, because when we see a close-up of Kenobi, we're actually seeing scenes of Mustafar in his background, which indicates like that's what he's thinking about, that's where his mindset is at the moment. And if this movie is doing exactly what I think it's doing, I think it'll be really interesting to focus on Kenobi's psyche, which was kind of like put to the wayside for a little bit in the TV show. Now, I think one of the biggest questions is Reva going to be in this movie edit? And we don't really know the answer to that. PixelJoker 95 hasn't actually shown too many scenes that he's worked on just yet. But there are scenes of Reva here and there, just not very prominent, like this scene right here. PixelJoker added in these TIE fighters that fly past that weren't in the original edit. This doesn't necessarily confirm that she's in the edit, but I think it would make sense that she is. She's quite integral to the TV series, whether you like her or not. And there has been fan edits where people have cut her out completely, but it kind of just makes the story a little bit more plot holey. She's needed to progress certain parts of the story with Vader, Kenobi, and so on. So unpopular opinions aside, I do think she kind of needs to be in this movie edit just for it to make sense, especially with how much work has been put into this. We also saw a teaser shot of Yoda right at the end of the trailer, so we can expect something there as well. Not to mention a sick new logo animation specifically for this movie edit. And my favourite VFX scene of all in this trailer was this one. The flick from Darth Vader to Anakin Skywalker is so sick, especially when we have that phenomenal scene right at the end of the battle between Kenobi and Vader. Just being given constant reminders that this is Anakin Skywalker and not fully Darth Vader yet is a really good subject to touch upon a bit more in this movie edit. Now finally, the release date. There has been some hints on when this full movie edit is going to be released. And for those of you worried that you'll have to wait for ages on this, it won't be that long of a wait. PixelJoker 95 has talked about release dates already, and he's aiming anywhere between Star Wars Celebration and May 4th. He hasn't committed to any of those, he said it could be even later than that, but judging by his comments, he's already 8 months deep into this project. This isn't something that's just been hastily put together to make a trailer. There is definitely a lot of shots that we haven't seen yet. And that's very clear because he also released a behind the scenes of all the people that came together for the reshoots. He brought in makeup artists, extra actors, and all these props like the stormtroopers to get these specific scenes. It's incredible to think that VFX edits are just simply not enough to achieve his vision. And these reshoots are a big deal because they're never seen in fan edits. If there's one thing that's really difficult to do, is to film new content that makes it look like it's still a part of the TV show. You're having to recreate the lighting to match that scene. You're having to use deepfakes, which PixelJoker has mentioned he will be using to make characters look like the characters in the show. And then all the post-processing that you have to do to make it not jarring that you're jumping from official footage to fan footage. It's enormous amounts of work, and it's something I am not surprised comes from an Andor VFX editor. So 8 months plus worth of work, release date happening sometime in Star Wars Celebration or May 4th. And in terms of fan reception, there's just not a lot, and I'm really disappointed that there aren't more eyes on a project of this caliber. So if you're really interested in seeing more of his work and keeping up with updates, definitely subscribe to his channel. I'll be leaving a link in the comments down below, as well as an end screen card that you can click on. Go give this guy some support, he totally deserves it. But with that all out the way, I've been Charlie, you've been watching Eckhart's Ladder, and I'll see you eventually. Have a good one guys, take care.